Well, excuse me, I'm going to get a comment here. It's from Cartoons and Comics. He's saying he was blocked by many people in the free speech side of things because he was not selling out his soul for the career or for temporary gain. And he goes on to say, because I didn't sell my soul for temporary gain, I was blocked. And he doesn't like people on the woke side or the Gator side. Or what became of it, I would suppose. I've got a question for you though, because a lot of people here do like iconic comics. This is not a good. I didn't start this off going, "Hey, we're going to advertise iconic comics," but one thing that people do like you guys for is because if you say it's going to be out on May 15th, by George, it will be out on May 15th. Is there a rule that you guys made as far as this to make sure that you're not making promises you can't keep?
Yeah, so again, that gets into friction. So you and I, we start our channels, and if we years ago, who was it? Was it B. Claymore, the guy with a Hawaiian dick? With it was,
yeah,
I
had him on here twice, I think.
So if it's one of those things like, all right, back in the day, I'm criticizing B. Claymore with Captain Cummings and saying like, hey, get your book out. It's 2 years late. It's 3 years late. It's 4 years late. And
now
then I become, now it's like whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, well now I'm entering the creator realm. I don't want to be B. Claymore. So I have the same stance, is be a man of your word. You at least have to get in the ballpark. People will give you a grace period if, because there's all sorts of things that could go wrong with indie comics, trust me, with printing and coloring and all sorts of stuff. But so then it's like becomes a thing where someone say I'm doing a live stream and they're like, hey, Doug, did you back, so-and-so book? What do you think about it being, 2 years late? I'm not going to lie to my viewers. I'm going to be like, I think that's not cool, but then of course you're going to upset the creator because you just put a spotlight on the fact that their book is late and you think that that's not professional. And so then it's like, well, what do you do? And so for me, it's like, I've tried to stay away from things like that, but I've always said, if somebody asks me a question, and I've backed a lot of these books, there's books that I've backed that are insanely late. I never call people out publicly on it, but I promise you, if I wasn't putting out my Soul Finder books, if I wasn't doing the Iconic Comics stuff, I would be calling them out because I want my book that I paid for. So, but yeah, with the Iconic Comics, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we want to put out book. We want to be men of our words. If we say it's going to be out on this day, put it out on this day. If we say Tim and Mark, I can't speak for them in some sense, but their track record indicates they say, okay, well, we are going to ship the books at this date, and time again, they ship the books when they said they're going to do that. That's how you grow a business over time. Is you offer good customer service and you be men of your word.
Yeah. Which is a way to, it's the way to be if you're not going to be what Jay and I were talking about. If one thing, of course, we get by staying with the mainstream is you go into a comic shop, there it is on the wall, you pick it up, you have it. It's only $4 or $5, unless you're picking up one of those big ones, $10. And you walk home, you have it, you read it, boom. Which is not the case with the Indiegogos, with the Kickstarters. And sometimes in the case of like the B. Claymore thing, maybe never, maybe you're not going to get it. I would say don't hold your freaking breath. It's been 7 years now. Breathe if you're expecting to get B. Claymore's book. B.
Claymore's the one that Cummings confronted, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. He came on. I let him on the channel. We had a decent talk. He explained his side of things, and that set John Malin off. And he came onto the channel, and man, he laid into me. When John Malin first showed up, he came on and he starts yelling. I'm like, dude, I have no clue what you're talking about. He thought I knew everything about the story, but I was keeping his side of it down. interesting. Like I said, it's interesting times back then. Since I am kind of giving a small interview to my friend Douglas Ernst, I do have to ask, what's going to happen to Soul Finder when you die?
Well, if Timothy Lim and Mark Pellegrini are alive, they can do whatever they want with it. If Matt Weldon is still alive and he wants to do something with it, then I trust Matt. So, but really, it's in. I implicitly trust Timothy Lim, and Tim and Mark have been kind enough to even use my characters in their books multiple times now. So. And they always do a really good job. They kind of like run things by me and they're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm always like, wow, this is really cool. You guys get the character and you rock. So keep doing your thing.
For those of you who don't know, that's an inside joke, by the way, because we had Mike Barron on, and I asked him about that. With the, like, you know, what do you think? What I meant, the question basically is, what do you think the legacy of Nexus and so forth are going to be? Instead, I literally just asked him, when you die, what's going to happen to the character? It was the worst interview question ever known to man. So from here on in, I'm asking anybody I'm talking to. Just bring it up. Zach saying,
to me, I don't even. I really just am focused on every story. I try and improve on the last one.
Yeah,
and I'm just trying to write stories that whoever has them, if it's on their shelf in 10 years, they could open it up and they can say like, "Ah, this was a good story," and you know, it had a good moral message that if I have a grandson, I would feel okay giving it to my grandson, because I know that there are lessons that I would like imparted within this particular book. So whatever happens, you know, not to be cheesy, but it's all in God's hands. I don't really have any power over. Once I put the book into the world, you know, it's out of my hands at that point.
I do appreciate the fact that when you gave me a copy of it, you said I was allowed to make an honest review of it. Which I was like, okay, I don't want to end friendships with this, but
trust me, there's been some negative reviews out there. So there's a lot of good reviews, but there have been bad ones as well. And I just if there's a bad one and I do comment, I just say thanks for reading. And if it's really annoying to me, I just say nothing. But even in the bad reviews, there's always some sort of nugget of truth to them. So even if I think the person's being unfair, even if I think there's an axe to grind, usually they're addressing something that I already, because I'm my own harshest critic, or I try to be, there's a nugget of truth there where I'm like, well, you know, I could have done a better job with that. So I don't really get like livid or angry at bad reviews, because if they're like, well, you know, they could have done the scene transitions better. And I'm like, yeah, I could have, but they don't know all the behind the scenes stuff. They don't know the constraints that I was under, you know, say I needed to get the book out at a certain time. I was working full time at a newspaper. I had a herniated disc. You know, it's like you can make all sorts of excuses, but the bottom line is that, yeah, I could have been better at the transitions in the first book, or, you know,
it was the first book out was pretty decent. It did show you could tell you were a novice writer as far as this was concerned. Obviously you worked in a newspaper, you've written before, but yeah, that was my point. Okay, let me get this comment. Let's see, Zach saying, you mean you don't just mine a small number of fans over and over again for overpriced books? I don't know, Doug, sounds off to me. Yeah, that has been one of the biggest complaints about the CG side. This video is kind of turned into a let's bash CG, but there's a whole other side to this argument. And I got to say, it's been recent that it seems like our characters are being held hostage. And it's some of the bigger characters as well. Spider-Man. When was the last time you felt good about a Spider-Man book? When was the last time you felt good about basically a lot of Marvel? some DC. Richard Meyer, I don't like your boy Zach. I'll call him Diversity in Comics. I'll call him Richard Meyer. That's why I'm just like, your boy Zach, really? That okay? But anyway, your boy Zach made a video recently, and I want to talk about this as well because I don't think he went deep enough because it was attached to something else. But he's always been like, okay, I'm going to do this 15-minute video on this topic, and then he'll get to it at the 13-minute mark. But he made a video about how DC Comics especially has gayed out their legacy characters. Like the blood, Krypton's destroyed. The blood of Krypton ends with John Kent. As far as the legacy, he's bisexual, which in comic books is gay. They did the same thing with Aquaman. Every freaking legacy character is coming out as not straight, and it's buried them. I don't think they've thought narratively. I always said, what is the narrative reason? I don't care if you make John Kent gay. We don't know his sexuality. What's the narrative reason beyond though? Oh, well, we want representation, because what they're doing is not representation. I've said this many times. It's presentation. It is the worst form of pandering. But who are you freaking pandering to? That's another video I made. They kept saying there is like 70 million female comic book readers out there. No, they're not comic book readers. They're manga readers. And you think that you're going to attract them with American comics. You're not. And you haven't. I mean, that video I made is like 5 freaking years old now. And nothing has changed. That audience that they were going for, they didn't show up for American comics. They went to the manga. They went, or manga, or however you say it. And the worst part is they looked at people with gray in my beard, or people even older than me, like Doug, who flat out will buy whatever the hell. At a certain point, I was literally buying both Marvel and DC, everything they produced. Now, granted, I'm smarter with my money, and by the way, Doug isn't older than I am. I'm smarter with my money, but I would still be apt to buy damn near anything if it was decent enough. And they decided they didn't want this audience anymore. We're going to go for this phantom audience. We're going to go for I don't want to touch Mockingbird's boo, but we're going for this phantom audience that just didn't exist. And they were willing to throw us away. And anytime we said, hey, wait, you're an ist. You follow the isms. And that was basically the basis of what became Comicsgate. As we saw our characters being treated improperly. And instead of listening, instead of saying, hey, you know what, guys? They've got a point. Nowadays, they're burning it to the ground. And I'm saying nowadays because there was a shining moment when we were still a movement, of readers, where they said, look, these are the books they don't like. Let's cancel them. Let's do the books that they're saying they do like. And then we dropped the ball. Then we stopped paying attention. We stopped. And you saw it. The Umbrella guy. What's the other one's dude? Yellow Flash. You would see with Captain Cummings said it. Oh, well, I'm not buying Marvel anymore. I'm not buying DC. They're not listening, blah, 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 yada, yada. Okay. Well, if you remove the money, you remove the power. Now, I'm not saying you have to buy crap books, but if they're producing good stuff, you get in there, you get your voice heard, you let them know that how they're writing Spider-Man right now is shit. Are they going to listen? I don't know. More than likely not. Look at what's going on with Mary Jane, but damn it, don't be silent. Don't not let them know that you love these characters and you don't like the direction they're going in. Don't be fucking dicks about it, which is what happened with Comicsgate. I'm sorry, Doug, going ahead.
No, one of the things that kind of annoys me about the mainstream industry when they try and they also try and rewrite history themselves
Yeah.
Whereas they lumped any critic of them, all of us together into one pot. So you can have people that are essentially professional trolls and just people that are outrageous and they just say incendiary things just for the sake of saying incendiary things. And they would lump those individuals in with you or Captain Frugal. And it's like, so then it was just this giant, you know, we were talking earlier about eventually there was going to be these fissures that were going to be exposed for everyone to see. It's like part of it is because the industry lumped all of us together under one umbrella, where it was like, no, Englantine's channel is nothing like take your pick of, you know, individual who just does and says ridiculous, outrageous things for clicks and, you know, and like, it just always bothered me where it was like, if they would have just listened to the rational people that were, you know, on the right side of the political spectrum, but they loved comic books. They cared about comic books. They wouldn't be in the position that they were in today. But to this day, they still rewrite history and just want to make it sound like anyone who disagrees with what they're doing is racist, bigot, homophobe, etc., etc.
Right.
There's one more.
Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was going to say there's one more thing too about all this is that I had no idea who people like, excuse me, Heather Antos, being Alaya, Mags. I had no idea who these people were. I learned about these people from certain comic gators. They elevated these people to a minor celebrity status and also vice versa for themselves. And I'm just not so sure that I agree with you, E. You never should keep silent, but the free publicity that they have given the SJWs and the mainstream media, you can't buy that kind of publicity. I mean, it's, you know,
it affects also, by the way, like Doug was saying, we did have trolls, by the way. If you're speaking negatively about something, somebody who's going to take it too far, you get some, I'm a troll. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say this outlandish thing. First of all, this is the freaking internet. You're not saying anything outlandish. I mean, we live in a world where 2 girls in a cup exists. You're not going to freaking shock anybody. You're just going to be a dick. And that's what ended up happening. Captain Cummings and I ended up getting into an argument, not with each other for once, but with some guys who posted naked pictures of Kamala Khan, and they were in a sexual she was having sex with somebody else. I forget what it was. And I said, dude, that's a 15-year-old character. Please take my name off of it. I didn't say remove the picture. I didn't say anything like that, but they jumped on me about free speech. I said, I'm not saying don't do this. One, don't f***ing at me. Don't put because when you did that, all of the names of the people you were adding was at the top of this. And whether or not I did endorse this, anything like that was seen as an endorsement. Well, this is the person that follows this guy and this guy and that guy. And in no way, shape, or form did I want my name at the top of what essentially was child porn. And I was like, son of a bitch, you guys see what's going on? And Captain Cummings goes, holy shit. And both of us were talking. Now, Captain Cummings, he was probably the most abrasive of us. I would say it would, you know, Captain Cummings, Richard, myself, and then Doug as far as the abrasiveness. And he jumped in as well. And you have these trolls, these people who really, they don't care about winning the culture war as much as they just wanted to troll. They wanted to they weren't there for the comics. They were there for the drama. And you do get that when you run a channel like that. I know, because this channel for the longest time was one of those channels. And no matter what, you would get these people who they didn't understand the goal. To me, and that's the problem. You mentioned what was Comicsgate to you? What was Comicsgate to, say, Cummings or myself? I always wanted us to win the culture war. I didn't want us to elevate it. It was going to happen anyway. I wanted us to win it. And in my opinion, the way that we won it was to be the sane people showing the rest of the world how insane the modern day comic book writers are. And right now they are out there, man.